Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel, or if you're new, my name is Tanisha and I love taking you along on my reading journey. And in today's video, I'm going to read for 24 hours. I've done this video once before earlier this year, but for those who have not seen that video, I'm not going to do a 24-hour readathon. I like my sleep way too much to do that, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to set a timer and I'm going to pause it every single time I stop reading, so we can actually see how much or little I can read in 24 hours. The last time I did this, I read 1754 pages over a span of 5 books, and it took me about a week to complete the 24 hours. I don't have any goals as to how many books I want to read in this video. I do have a goal that I want to complete this challenge in under 4 days. But if it takes longer, it is not a big deal, but we'll see. I'm going to start the timer when I start reading, but I first want to talk about the book that I'm going to read first. I've decided to start off with Marriage Vendetta by Madden, and I'm going to read it for the debut Darlings challenge in the Goodreads summer challenge thing. For those who don't know, in Goodreads you obviously have your reading challenge that you do every single year, where you fill in an amount of books that you want to read in a year, and it tracks automatically how many books you read and if you complete the challenge or not. But you also have a challenge that takes place the entire year, where you can collect achievements based on when you complete books. So for example, you get an achievement for every single month that you read a book. So you get a January achievement if you read a book in January, February achievement all the way up to December. You also get an achievement if you collect all the months. You get an achievement if you complete your reading challenge, and the last achievement that you can collect in this yearly challenge is when you read more books than you did last year. But besides this yearly challenge, you also have seasonal challenges. So every 2 or 3 months you get new achievements that you can collect, and right now the summer challenge is going on. This challenge started July 1st and goes up until September 14th, and you can collect 9 different achievements, and the way you can collect these achievements are different for every single achievement. So 3 of those 9 achievements, if I remember correctly, are based on how many books you read during July 1st until September 14th. So I think one of the achievements is to collect 2 books, one is to collect 3 books, and one is to collect 5 books. And the other 6 are themed challenges or themed achievements that give you a list of books that you can read in order to collect the achievement, if that makes sense. And Marriage Vendetta, the book that I'm going to start off with, fits the debut Darlings achievements, which gives you a list of 70 debut novels that you can read. And if you read one of those between July 1st and September 14th, you get the achievement. There were a lot of good options, so I had a hard time picking, but I'm going with Marriage Vendetta because the plot sounds amazing, but I'm also just in a very big thriller mood. And in Marriage Vendetta, I'm going to follow Eliza, who is fed up with her husband because he uprooted their family by moving, and he promised that he was going to spend more time with his family, but obviously he lied. And Eliza also gets pictures that allude to an affair, so Eliza decides to go to an unconventional therapist who has a retraining method that makes Eliza do things to get revenge, but these things get increasingly strange, and Eliza's also going to spiral. So I'm expecting a lot of drama, a lot of plot twists, because obviously this is a thriller, and I'm also just very excited to read why this therapist decides to do revenge retraining methods instead of just proper therapy. So yeah, I'm very excited to read this book, and I'm also just excited to do this challenge again because I had a lot of fun last time. So yeah, grab a drink and watch me read for 24 hours. I've read for about an hour and I'm currently on page 80, which is 26% into the marriage vendetta. And this book really reads fast. I normally don't read 80 pages in an hour, but this book is just a page turner. The thriller aspect or mystery aspect has not started yet, but I'm just getting to know the characters. I'm getting to know the dynamic between the wife and the husband. I can already tell you that I hate the husband. He is so annoying. So I get why she needs therapy to deal with whatever her husband throws at her. But I really enjoy this book so far. Like I said, the plot has not started yet. I mean, it has started because you can see why she needs therapy and she has met the therapist, but the retraining method hasn't really started yet. The therapist has explained her method, but the first act of revenge has not occurred yet. So I don't know what type of revenge this therapist has planned out for Eliza, but I'm very curious to read it. I don't know if I'm going to update you every hour because I don't think I want to update that often in books. Normally I update somewhere at the beginning of the book, somewhere in the middle, and after I finish the book. I think that's also what I did in the other 24 hours of reading video, because especially when I'm going to read multiple books like in this video, I don't want to talk for hours and have a very long reading vlog. I'm just going to see how far I get in the next hour of reading, and if I have a lot of things to update you about, I will, and if not, we will just see each other later. I'm going to stop yapping and get back to reading, and we will talk to each other when I have more thoughts. I'm currently at page 227, which means I am 75% into the marriage vendetta. I'm really enjoying this read. That's the first thing I want to say. But this book was promoted to me as a thriller. The genre tags that are on Goodreads are thriller, then fiction, then contemporary, then humor, then mystery. But there's nothing thrilling in this book. The only mystery that this book has is if the husband is cheating or not. This book just feels like a contemporary fiction book or a women's fiction book, but not a thriller. That doesn't mean that I don't like the book. I am enjoying the story, but if I would have to rate it as a thriller, this is not a thriller. So I still have 25% to go, so I'm not going to DNF this book because I'm enjoying it, but I don't know if I have to base my rating on if it is a good thriller or not, or if it is a good book or not. I think I'm going to do 2-star ratings, 1-star rating for the thriller aspect and 1-star rating for the overall enjoyment, and I might just do the average rating as my final rating for the book. I'm going to make myself some dinner because it's already 8 p.m. and then I'm going to finish this book, and I will talk to you again when I finish this book with my final thoughts, my final rating, and what I'm going to read next. I have been reading for 3 hours and 20 minutes and I just finished the marriage vendetta. The story picked up a little bit when I was 80% into the book, but honestly the lack of thriller aspect was still very noticeable throughout the last 25%. So if I would rate this book as a thriller, I would probably give it 2 stars. But my reading experience was very enjoyable. I liked the plot even though it wasn't a thrilling plot. So if I would just rate the book not thinking about the false genre that had been put on it, I would probably give it 4 stars. But considering I was going into the book thinking it was thriller because that's what Goodreads said, I'm going to lower my rating from a 4 star to a 3 stars. I enjoyed this author's writing, and for a debut novel it is very good. I enjoyed myself. The chapters were short, the pacing was right. All in all, this is a good solid debut novel, and I would probably read more books by her if they eventually come out, because I don't think there are more books by her right now. But yeah, those are my thoughts. 3 stars for the first book in this video, and I still have 20 hours and 40 minutes left. So I'm going to pick my next to read, and I've already decided what I'm going to read. I have talked about this book multiple times now. It is in my summer TBR, it is in my August TBR, it is in my 2025 TBR. It is the first book that I have added to my Goodreads account when I first started my account and started making a TBR list. And we're finally going to read Under the Dome by Stephen King. My first thought was to pick the next book Through a Wheel Spin, and I actually spun the wheel and it landed on It by Stephen King. And I was just like, we're not going to do that because I already have Under the Dome on my August TBR. This one is thick and It is even thicker. So I'm just going to ignore the wheel spin. I'm not going to even... You know what? Let's look at my reaction when I spun It. No. I have no words. I was shocked and scared. So we're not going to do it. I'm just going to read Under the Dome because this was also a book that I have been avoiding, just like It. And I already picked this one during my August TBR jar video. I'm just going to read this one. It feels like cheating, but also not, because It and Under the Dome have the same feeling for me. I want to read both, but I'm also scared to read both because they are just, you know, chonkers. And who knows, maybe if I like this one, I can always read It. But for now, I'm going to start Under the Dome. I think I'm going to download it on my Kindle and read it there because I'm about to shower and crawl into my bed, and I don't like holding physical books in bed, especially not when they are this thick. So I'm going to take a shower, grab my Kindle, start reading, and I will update you tomorrow about how much I have read, what I think about the book, and also what the book is about. So I will see you tomorrow. Hello. It is the next day, and I finished yesterday with 19 hours and 49 minutes on the clock. And I read about 50 pages in Under the Dome. I'm this far into the book, so as you can see, I didn't make much progress, but I am enjoying this book so far. This story has very short chapters. The book is divided into parts. The parts don't have numbers, they just have names. There are 26 parts in total, and each part has a couple of chapters, and also the chapters start over. So you have part 1, which is called The Airplane and the Woodchuck, and that one has chapter 1, chapter 2, chapter 3, until I think chapter 6 or 7. And then it goes to part 2, which is called Barbie, and that also has chapter 1, chapter 2. So that is very nice, especially with a book this thick. I haven't looked at the page count yet. Let me see. So this book has 877 pages, and I'm currently on page 44 in the physical book, which was 52 in the Kindle, but I'm just going to go with the physical page numbers because I'm going to switch to the physical copy now. Under the Dome is about a small town in New England that is being trapped by a glass dome, and nobody knows how the dome got there. This is a horror thriller, I think. It has also been translated into a TV series years and years and years ago, and I have seen that series, and I don't really remember the story, but I do remember that I really liked the series, so that's also what my expectations were when I got into the story. Because most of the time I like books better than the TV adaptations, so I had high hopes when I got into the book, and I honestly have not been disappointed yet. I really liked the first 40 or so pages. I'm just reading about the glass dome appearing and how everyone reacts to it. There are a lot of characters in this book. I think I have read about the glass dome appearing for like 6 or 7 times now, but it doesn't feel repetitive because all the different POVs are very different. So, for example, one character actually saw the dome. Well, they didn't see the dome because it's made of glass, but they saw something happen which made them realize that there was something there. But there were also other characters that were not close to the border of the dome, so they didn't see anything, but they, for example, heard a loud bang, or they got a phone call from someone that there was an accident happening. So everyone has very different experiences with the dome appearing, which is very nice to see. And I'm very curious to see if I'm going to read from more POVs or if this is just it. I obviously don't know if I have met everyone yet or not, but so far it is not confusing at all. I feel like I'm flying through it. I also saw that there is an audiobook on Spotify that is included into my subscription, so I might also listen to the book for a bit while I do other things in the house. But so far I'm very glad that I'm finally picking this book up, especially when it has been on my TBR for so long. So those are my thoughts right now, and I will have more, so we will see each other when I have made some progress. I've been reading Under the Dome for about 3 hours and 15 minutes now. I'm this far into the book. I'm on page 167, which makes me sit on the 20% mark. And I'm still very much enjoying it. The writing is very easy. The story just grips your attention and doesn't let go. I have been pausing my timer a couple of times to hang up my laundry and also to make myself some lunch. And every time I stopped reading, I was constantly thinking about the characters and what they were experiencing, and also how terrifying it would be to be trapped in a glass dome. It is very interesting to see how everyone reacts very differently to the same situation. There are a lot of characters that you are following and everyone is so different to each other, so all their reactions and their emotions and their actions are very different to each other. So it's very interesting to see how everyone is reacting and also how they are treating each other in this time of stress. And some of the people are also grieving, which builds more layers into the story. So far I'm very enjoying this book, and I see now why it is so long, because I've 170-ish pages into the story and I feel like there's still so much to unpack. And I'm also just very excited to read all those other pages and to unpack the story, to see what is happening, why this dome is there, and also if they are going to be freed or not. Obviously this book is very thick. I have been reading this book for 3 hours now and I'm only 20% into the book, so it is going to take me a long time to finish. And also I don't want to spoil anything, so I have to be very vague about what I'm reading about. So I don't know how much I can update you throughout. I'm going to try and update you again when I'm like 50% into the book. But if I don't have anything to say, I'm just not going to. So for now, my plan is to update you again when I am 50% into the book. I still have a little over 12 hours left, so I just hit the middle point of this video. I'm currently on page 426 of Under the Dome, which is just under 50% of this book. So far, I really enjoy the story. It is very scary to read about people who are trapped under a dome. Obviously, when people are trapped, they do weird things, so new police officers have been assigned. Those officers are not particularly good people. People are doing weird and scary and illegal things. The vibes of this book is just very down and sad and scary, and I enjoy the story, but it's not super good for your mental health when you're binging this book. So I think it's best that I'm going to take a break from Under the Dome, and I'm going to continue it when I'm not in a time crunch. And I decided to go with something that has very opposite vibes of Under the Dome. I wanted to read a silly little romance, so I decided to pick up What Happens in Amsterdam by Lynn. I bought this not too long ago, maybe 2 or 3 weeks ago, and just the cover, I was looking for a silly romance, and this book just screamed pick me up. So I decided to buy it, and I'm going to read it in this video, possibly today, because it's not that long. Yeah, it has 330 pages, so this is not a thick book, especially compared to Under the Dome. Let me put them together. That's a big difference. This book is about Danny. I don't know where she lives, but she had an office romance that didn't turn out good, and she ends up getting fired. After that, she applies to a job in Amsterdam, and in her first week in Amsterdam, she crashed her bike into her high school ex-boyfriend Wouter, which is a very Dutch name. Wouter was a Dutch exchange student that lived at Danny's house, but their love, which was forbidden obviously, because you don't want to take a boy into your house just for him to date your daughter. So their love was forbidden. They were dating anyways, and their breakup was very hurtful, I think. But obviously now, it's years later, Danny and Wouter are reconnecting, and then something happens with her job and she needs a visa to stay in the Netherlands. And what do people do to get visas? They marry each other. So this is a second chance, but also a marriage of convenience romance. And I'm very curious to read it, especially because I'm from the Netherlands, so I'm wondering if there are going to be a lot of things mentioned that I recognize from being Dutch. But it can also be that this book is just full of assumptions about the Dutch and Dutch culture and living in the Netherlands, and that I'm going to be annoyed by it. But I've heard good things about this book, also from people in the Netherlands, so I don't think this is going to be a cringy, annoying book for me to read. So yeah, I guess I'm going to start it. don't mind the t-shirt change because I was doing laundry earlier and cleaning my bathroom, and somehow water got everywhere, and my previous shirt, I think I was wearing a gray shirt, was completely soaked, so I decided to change. But it's time for an update. I'm currently on page 160, which means I am just on the 50% mark of this book. And I thought it would be best to update you now before I continue reading and accidentally finish this book before talking about my thoughts. So far, I have been enjoying this book a lot. I have read somewhere that this book feels like a love letter to the Netherlands, and I agree. I really like all the Dutch references. Obviously, I was a bit hesitant about a non-Dutch person writing about a girl in the Netherlands. The main character is originally American, but she moves to the Netherlands for a job, like I said at the beginning of reading this book. But what I didn't know is that the author of this book has at least lived in the Netherlands, because the dedication says, "For Sonne, how lucky I am that you were my first friend in this country." So I think that means that she has lived in the Netherlands, which makes me already feel way better about the quality of the Dutch culture that is being shown. But yeah, so far I'm really enjoying it. I like the main character. I had to get used to the writing a bit. I normally do not read romance books where there's only one point of view, but this book is just about Danny and her point of view of the whole situation. So I still don't know how the guy feels about her, but the plot has been picked up. The things that were described on the back of the book have happened mostly. There's only one thing that hasn't happened yet. I'm now in a unknown territory. Obviously this is a romance book, so my guess is that they are going to get together, but other than that I have no idea what's going to happen, and I'm very excited to read it. I like the writing style, and all in all I just like the vibes. I like all the fun Dutch references. They're talking about certain areas in Amsterdam, but also more cities than just Amsterdam are being mentioned. So that's also something that I really like. And I also like reading about the character and how she is experiencing Dutch things for the first time. It's just very fun to read about things that I have grown up with from a foreigner's point of view. I'm enjoying this book a lot. I still have 9 hours and 40 minutes left, so I am out of the double digits, but I still have a while to go, so I'm at least going to try and finish this book today. I finished What Happens in Amsterdam. My goal was to finish it yesterday, but I got really tired and I thought I still had 50-ish pages left. So I decided to just put the book down and finish the last 50 pages this morning. But those 50 pages ended up only being like 16. So I could have just finished it yesterday, but I didn't. I don't remember what I said at the middle of the book, but the first half of the book was very fun. I liked the characters, I liked all the Dutch references. But the second half of the book was kind of disappointing. I started to realize more and more that I didn't have any connection to the couple. You are 100% in the head of Danica, who is the female main character. Everything is from Danica's point of view. You read all about her inner monologues. You know what she's thinking. And I started to notice that I was really lacking Wouter's POV. I think for me to be able to actually connect with a couple, I have enough to know both of them. And I feel like Wouter was not a very fleshed out character. Of course, he had a background story. He has his hobbies, his friends, his job. So the author has thought about him and his background story, but just because you don't read from his POV, he felt a bit flat. And that also made me not really connect to the characters. Like, did I hate the book? Absolutely not. I was going into this story hoping that it would be a silly little romance, and it was just that, a silly little romance. There were some sensitive and heavier topics being talked about, and I really liked that, but I felt a lot of distance between me and the couple, and I think having Wouter's POV would have helped a lot, but obviously we didn't get his POV, so I felt distant. And also, Danny was a little bit annoying at times. Like, she is not unlikable, but she felt like a 16-year-old girl sometimes, which is not a positive thing when the female main character was supposed to be 30. Like, she was constantly filling in things for other people instead of just communicating. And also just the whole relationship that she had with the male main character was just them not properly communicating, so it was just them being immature. I hate to say it, but the second book in this video is also a 3-star. I wish this was a very good 5-star romance book, but it's just not. But with that being said, it's time to pick, I think, the last book. I still have a little under 8 hours left, so my plan is to start this next book that I have picked out. My guess is that I'm going to be able to finish the book before the timer runs out, and if that happens, I'm just going back to Under the Dome and read that until the timer is finished. That's my plan, at least. The book that I picked up is from an author that has never disappointed me, especially after reading through 3-star books. I need a book that is going to be thrilling. I need a book that is going to keep me on my toes, that is a real page turner, that makes me want to binge it. There are multiple authors that do that for me, but this author particularly has never made me read a book that is lower than 5 stars. And I'm talking about Janice Hallett. I've read a couple of books by her. I have read The Appeal and also The Christmas Appeal and The Examiner. And now it's time to read The Mysterious Case of the Alperton Angels, which is about a true crime author that is going to investigate a cult, which sounds so interesting to me. What I have gathered from the back, all the members of this cult are dead, and there is this one baby that used to be in this group of people, and this baby turned 18. So the female main character is finally able to interview this baby, but no one knows who this baby is and where they live. So there's this race between Amanda, who is our female main character, and another journalist. So that sounds very interesting. And for those who have never heard about Janice Hallett, she writes thriller mysteries, but in mixed media. So most of the books, if not all of it, is emails, text messages, journal entries, notes, transcripts from podcasts and phone calls, stuff like that. So there is no normal text and dialogue that you're reading. You're just reading, for example, pages torn out of books and stuff like that to tell the story. And I really enjoy this type of writing because it reads very quickly. You get sucked into the story because you get all these materials and you don't know why it's important and who is who. You get to meet a lot of characters at once without it feeling like you just stepped into a room full of people who are in the middle of a situation. You're getting to know the characters through everything that you got into this book, which I really like. I have rated all her books 5 stars so far, and this one is also a very good chance to being a 5 star. At least my prediction is that this is going to be a 5 star, and that's perfect after reading 2 3-star books. I'm going to hydrate myself and start reading this book. currently at page 224 and so far I'm really enjoying it, but I don't have a lot of thoughts. I really wanted to update you just because it feels weird to not talk to you throughout the entire book and just come back and say I finished the book. But so far I really like it. Obviously the story is being told very slowly. You read through the notes that the true crime author has gathered, so you read through her emails and you also read about the conversations that she had that are secretly recorded. Not all the information that you get through all the material that you read through is 100% accurate or 100% helpful to crack the case and to know about what this cult was all about. I'm also someone who likes stories that are being told slowly. I like character-driven books. I like it when there is a plot, but it's not necessary for me to enjoy a story. So I'm enjoying this so much. The timer has run out, which means I have read for 24 hours in the last 7 or 8 days. I don't know exactly when I started this video. I think it was Saturday and it is Saturday again today, so I think it took me exactly a week. The last time I updated you, I was in the middle of the mysterious case of the Alperton angels and I finished this one yesterday. I stayed up until 2 a.m. to finish this book. It was so good. This book has everything that I like in thrillers. It was very engaging. The writing style was fun. It had short chapters, or I mean the chapters were long, but because it is mixed media you can stop after every email and text message thread that you read basically. I really liked the cult content that I was getting. I'm always so intrigued by cults and members and why people join and why the leader starts the group, so obviously this book was about a cult, so I got a lot of good content about that. I also liked the female main character. Her name was Amanda. She was a true crime author and I really liked her. She was likable, she was also smart, and she also had a lot of fun banter with other people that she was interacting with, which I also really liked. So all in all, this was just a very good thriller. There was some information where I was a little bit like, why am I reading this? Like, why is this important? So that's also why this book is not going to get a 5-star, because it was not flawless, but my reading experience was amazing. So the mysterious case of the Alperton angels is going to get 4 stars. I decided to start another book that is on my August TBR, which is Know My Name by Chanel Miller. And this is a memoir about Chanel, the author, and she is S8 while being on a college party or a frat house party at Stanford University. And she writes about obviously her experience, but also the aftermath, so court, her traumas, other things that she is experiencing in the same topic of SA and being a woman in this case America. And so far I can't say that I'm enjoying my read, because the topic is obviously very sensitive and it's not easy to read, but it is written in a very accessible way, so it reads very quickly. I got until page 130 when the timer ran out and I still had like 2 hours and 40 minutes left on the clock when I started the book. So I'm reading it not super quickly, but also not slow at all. And I'm definitely going to finish this book probably today, but I'm not going to wait to finish this book to end this video, because I don't give non-fiction books ratings, so it doesn't really matter. Like, I'm not going to put a star rating on the screen because I don't give non-fiction books ratings. So if you're interested in my thoughts on Know My Name after I finish it, you can look on my Goodreads. It is linked down below. I don't write crazy elaborate reviews, but most of the time I do write something. So before I finish this video, I want to talk about stats because you know I love stats, and I also really liked looking back at what I did last time. So last time I read 1754 pages, if I remember correctly. So that was a lot, and it was divided over 4 or 5 books, and I tracked my reading this time as well, so let's talk about it. So I started this video with The Marriage Vendetta, which had 300 pages, and I finished it in 3 hours and 21 minutes. After that I started Under the Dome by Stephen King, and I got until page 426, which is halfway through the book, and I read that book for 8 hours and 33 minutes. Next up was What Happened in Amsterdam. I finished it in 4 hours and 17 minutes, and it had 337 pages. The second to last book that I read in this video was The Mysterious Case of the Alperton Angels. It had 495 pages. I read it in 5 hours and 5 minutes, and I rated it 4 stars. When I finished The Mysterious Case of the Alperton Angels, I still had 2 hours and 40 minutes left on the clock, so I decided to start Know My Name, and I got until page 130. I also tracked the amount of pages I read every hour to see what my trend was in terms of reading. In total, I read 1688 pages. On average, I read 70 pages an hour. The hour that I read the most was hour 16 with 102 pages, and that was when I read What Happened in Amsterdam. And the hour where I read the least amount of pages was hour 6, when I was reading Under the Dome, and I only read 43 pages in that hour. So yeah, those are my stats. I really think that I would have been able to read more pages if I didn't read Under the Dome for so many hours, because that book took up a lot of time, even though I didn't even got to finish it. So I probably wouldn't choose a book that thick and also with that genre when I do this challenge again. But all in all, I'm just very proud of the amount of pages that I read, and I also had a lot of fun, which was my main goal for this challenge. So with that being said, thank you so much for watching. Comment down below which of these books you want to read, and I will see you in my next video whenever I post it. Bye!